On September 28, 2025, in Grand Blanc Township, a church gathered together on a Sunday morning to worship. The Grand Blanc Church, known as the Latter-day Saints Church, and their people were attacked. Little did they know when they woke up that morning that there was a premeditated evil that was targeting their congregation. On that day, heroes from inside that church arose. Heroes from the outside came and protected those that were wounded and comforted those who lost their lives. From that day, we learned a lot, and there's much to learn. That's why just shortly after this incident here in Genesee County, we gathered together in a tactical briefing, and over 500 people showed from 200 faiths to ask the question, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And what else do we need to do? This tactical briefing has led to this training. Included in this training are 5 modules. You're going to have a baseline for you to ask those questions wherever you worship and to wherever you hold a group of people together. You're going to learn about communications and legalities. You're going to learn about tactical medical treatment. You're going to learn about how to handle situations if you are involved. Where do you run? Where do you hide? How do you fight? And what if there's fire? This training is by our people. We've been through this just like you. And we're going to save lives because of this. So please, take this serious. Implement it in your churches, in your synagogues, in your mosques, into your temples right now. Welcome to the training.
Hi, good evening, good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Rudy Lopez, Genesee County Sheriff's Office. We're here today to talk about church safety. How do we protect our houses of worship? So today is we're going to go over a couple objectives today. It's understanding unique threats that are facing places of worship, learn how to assess the vulnerabilities, like where are we vulnerable at in our buildings, explore practical security measures, and then promote the culture of safety and preparedness. Why it matters. Recent incidents targeting religious institutions. Churches, religious institutions are viewed as weak targets. You know, some churches don't allow people to carry. Some places of worship absolutely forbid it. So we want you to be prepared and have a plan. People view places of worship as soft targets, balancing openness and protection. That's the scale we have to go through to make the people who are there to worship feel safe. And then community expectations of safety. Everybody firmly believes that when they go to worship, that all the steps have taken place to make them feel safe. So that's why it matters. So in order for you to do this and do this correctly, you need to look at your building and look at the way you operate. You have to change your mode of operation if you want to feel safe. You have to perform a threat assessment. You have to walk around and look at areas of your church, whether there's large open bay windows, large windows from the outside, from the ground up. Where are the weak points in your building? What could people use to make entrance in your building? Is there a lot of glass? Is your building all brick? So those are the things you have to look at to see where a bad person could try to make entry. Then you have to cover those. All right. We're going to walk around the church here in a little while. We're going to look at stuff, and we're just going to point out things that might help and we'll point out options you could use to make it a little bit safer. But we'll go through that shortly. Types of threats. We have active shooters. We say active assailants nowadays because it's not always a shooter. It could be a guy with a knife. It could be a car. It could be whatever. Vandalism, arson, theft, hate crimes, and then weather emergencies. You have to be prepared in case there is a tornado when you guys are in service. Is there severe weather? Snowstorms. All of those things you have to be ready for. If you take anything away from this training, it's the situational awareness of what's happening around you all the time. When we train this, and I know we're talking about threat assessments and safety at your places of worship, but it's really knowing who's around you and what's around you, and having a plan. When we teach this to schools, that's the most important thing we get is we tell the kids who's around you all the time, what's happening around you all the time, and have a plan. Know where you're going to go, know where your exits are, and remember, you don't have to be a victim. You have the right to fight back. So maintaining entrances. So you want, if you have security personnel, remember, so security personnel in a church doesn't have to be police. It doesn't even have to be paid security. Our church, or the church I attend, or the place of worship I attend, we're all volunteers. We have some off-duty police officers. We have some retired gentlemen. And what we do is we staff our entrances. So every entrance, there's 2 entrances that people are allowed to use. Every entrance is staffed with a greeter and a security. All right. And we are just looking at people coming in. Most people we know, we say good morning to everybody. The power of hello in this instance is probably the most important thing. You want to see people, see how they're walking in, see if there's any mannerisms that stick out to you. You want to have eyes on everybody. All right. Also focus on the amount of doorways that are being utilized by the church, all right, or by your place of worship. Is every door open all the time? All right. Is there a person at every doorway? Do you lock the doors 15 minutes after the service starts? Those are things you have to think about. Make sure your staff is approachable and that they wear identifiers. Most places of worship, their security guards either wear shirts or they have a little lanyard that just says security. All that does is gives your worshipers a little bit of ease that someone's there to protect you, and there's eyes on what's going on around them, so they can just free themselves and worship in peace. Entry protocols. Those are things for your entry people to know. Like, are you locking the doors? Are there certain doors that are never open? For instance, protocols in your children's area. How many people are allowed back there? Are there only certain people, like only certain people with kids are using that door? So those are things you have to look at just to keep your kids safe. Exterior patrols, parking lot patrols. Some, depending on location, some places of worship will have, poor people in the parking lot begging for money. I understand people want to help people. Just be aware if you are helping them. Are they following you? Are they harassing you? Know what's going on around you. We have a security card that has a light on it, and a sticker that says security, and they just drive. It's a magnet sticker. They drive around the lots, making sure no one's messing with the vehicles when they're parked. All right. Communication between exterior and interior people. Like who knows what's going on? How are you passing valuable information on, and who gets that information? Do you have people to respond, or do you only have 2 door people, right? In an ideal security setup, you want your doors covered, you want the parking lot covered, and you want to have roamers that can move around and move to the problem and help, so that's just not one person responding, because there's always strength in numbers. The surveillance and monitoring. So Captain Kennemer is going to talk a little bit more about this. Here's what I'm going to tell you. If you have any blind spots in your church, you want cameras on it, okay? Anywhere that people can hide and do bad things, people will hide and do bad things. So just know, if you have blind spots, you want them covered. Is it monitored versus recording? Remember, monitored, if you have someone watching a live feed, you have the opportunity to stop something before it happens. If it's recorded, it's already happened, and you're probably playing it back to watch, all right? Integrate your cameras with law enforcement. We love that. Get a hold of your local PD, give them access if you want, and they will help you set those cameras up, all right? All right, hardening the facility. We can make your church super safe. It's going to be, or your place of worship, super safe. It's going to look like a prison though, right? And that's not the look we're going for. We want it to be accessible. We want people to come there because that's That is the ultimate goal, to get as many people there to worship as we can. We want you to secure doors, windows, key card access if you can on doors that people shouldn't be going in and out, right? We already talked about staffing the front or the doors of entry and exit. Soft spots, we talk about using cameras. You look at glass. Glass is considered to be a soft spot because glass can be defeated. In a lot of active shooter events, bad guys don't necessarily get into the building through the door. They've shot a window out or shot a glass door out. Use securing your utility access points. Do you have delivery doors that open up? Do you have, rear doors that maintenance uses? Do people prop doors? Those are all things that when you make, you can do everything right, but as soon as someone props the door because it's 90 degrees outside, now we have a weak point. So you have to have those things reinforced to your staff and make sure that they're not doing those types of things, right? Because the safest thing to do in a school, in a place of worship, is close the doors and lock them, right? Make sure someone has to knock to come in. Lighting and landscaping. Dark areas. Bad things happen in dark areas, okay? Just know that. Just know that if you have a completely darked out area, people are going to find it and they're going to do bad things there. So just know, just get lights where you can. And then you want clear sight lines. Do you have overgrown bushes where bad things can happen? Just stuff like that, or things that you have to look at to make sure that the people attending your church or place of worship are safe. Some of these places of worship aren't just places of worship, right? They are locations for concerts, they're locations for get-togethers. So if you're doing stuff at night, do you have adequate lighting outside? Is there dark spots that bad things could happen? So those are things you want to do when you do your exterior walk. Make sure you do it during the day and during the night so that you can see where the weak points are. So how do we prepare? How do we prepare for emergencies? You want to have evacuation plans. You want to know what the plan is. You want to know if there's a tornado, this is where we go. All right, if there's shots fired, those are your exits. If there's a man doing bad things here, we have to know that we can escape through there, okay? Also, you have to know that there's a difference. If there's something happening outside, you might not go into a hard lockdown, right? You might have a police incident across the street or just down the road. You might not go into a hard lockdown. You might not go into run, hide, fight. You might just shelter in place and say, hey, there's nothing wrong with whoever's leading the service saying, we're going to shelter in place. There's a police incident outside. Let's just stay in here. No one goes in, no one goes out. That is what we call a shelter in place. So have that plan in your mode of operation. Communication plans. How are you going to get the information out? What are you going to do? The easiest thing is if you're in the middle of a service and information gets to anybody at the church, you want to pass that along, whether it be through your security team leader or the preacher, pastor, or whoever's leading the worship that day. Medical kits and AEDs. Remember, in most of these incidences, people do not die from the gunshot wound itself. They die from blood loss. So if you can get medical kits to these people with tourniquets and apply pressure and teach that to your people, you're going to save a lot of lives. All right, AEDs, there should be an AED in every building. They save lives every day. And if you have medical kits and tourniquets, you should have an AED. It is something that could save a life. The whole aspect of having a security team at a place of worship, that is community engagement of itself. All right. It is almost like a calling. Like you want to keep them. That is your time to worship. You're making sure those people are safe so that they can worship in peace. All right. We want you to ask for people that want to come be part of your team. Who wants to come help? Make sure we can worship in peace. All right. It is our calling. It is, all you have to do is ask. And then if they seek more training, you can always reach out to your local law enforcement and they can help you train. We want you to establish relationships with your law enforcement wherever you are, whether it be a city police, county sheriff's office, township police. Reach out to them, tell them you want them to be part of your plan. You want them to have feedback on what's happening in your place of worship. You have to build the see something, say something culture. In today's day and age, there's so many times you will watch the news after an incident, and they always do this interview, and it really burns me to see them say, I knew it was going to be him because he was doing this or he was posting this. But those people never said anything. Many of these active shooter events could have been stopped prior to them happening had somebody just picked up the phone and notified law enforcement. If you think it's weird, it's probably weird. Report it, let someone know. Community watch programs. We talk about community watch programs, not just for your subdivisions and your neighborhoods, but it's for your church. Like, they should know that if they see something, they have to get that information to somebody who can help them stop something. Today we're talking about church security, and we talk about knowing the exterior of your church, right? So we look at this church. This is an older church, a Catholic church that's closed down here in the city of Flint. And you have your door and it's ground level, right? And if you look at the door, there's really nothing from preventing anyone from driving into that door. So we talk about putting like big flower pots, possibly the cement blockades that you can get put in the ground. So something to protect that entry point, because that is a weak spot. So things to think about. How can I stop something from entering that door? Just make it beautiful. Put a big flower pot in there, big cement one, fill it, have your people change the flowers out, monthly or whatever, to make it look nice. You look at the shrubbery around the door. It's overgrown, right? I couldn't see if somebody was hiding in those bushes. So those are things you want to look at. All right, and of course some of the windows are broken out because it is an abandoned church, but know where those weak points are. All right. If you want to do a security assessment of your building, you have to walk around the whole thing. You're looking for dark spots. You're looking for overgrown shrubbery. Dark spots when it's night. Where does it look scary, basically, is what you're looking for. Where could someone hide, or where could bad things happen? Because bad things always happen in the dark. All right, so remember, when we're looking at the dark spots or dark places around your church, this is a cutout in the church. There's absolutely no light fixtures affixed to this building, right? So these are two dark corners that you'd want to see when you do your security assessment on your building. Find areas like this. We try to light it up so that everybody can see everything that's going on. All right, so we've been fortunate enough to be led into this church to show you kind of positioning and what you want to look for. So this is a main entry to the church here, okay? We know that most people will park on that side in the large parking lot, and they enter to this church. This is also where valet parking happens for people who can't walk as far. So most people will come in here. You want to think about staffing and where your weaknesses are, and entry points that are open before or during service is a weak point. So you'd want to position a welcomer / security person at this door. All right. The welcomer is just greeting everybody. We want people to feel comfortable here. We want them to feel that they're ready to hear the word. The security officer also welcoming, talking, seeing everybody who's walking in the building. Does anyone look suspicious? Does anyone look intoxicated? Does anyone look under the influence of anything? Those are things we're looking for, right? Are they dressed appropriately for the weather outside? Are they wearing, a winter coat in July? Those are things that you look for, okay? Any bulges in shirts when people walk by, especially if they're wearing tighter clothes. So that's what your security team should be looking for. So you want to man this with one welcomer and one security person. We talk about points of entry, right? And this is, if you have a school or you do classes for youth programs, you want to have an entry just for them. So here at this church, they have an entry just for parents with kids. They're the only ones who are allowed to use this. Now, is this inconvenient for some people? Yes. But sometimes safety is inconvenient, all right? You have to change your mode of operation. So the only people who use this door are people dropping off kids to check them in to the nursery or to the early childhood. These doors are locked as soon as service starts. and this is always positioned. You would probably want to position a welcomer here to help people check kids in, and you'd probably want a security officer here just because we're always protecting our youth. So in kids areas, you want to have places for people to check in their children, right? Most churches or places of worship have tags that you can print out when you check them in on the iPad, and the parent takes half the tag and the kid takes half the tag. Those are fantastic practices. You also want to have man people at these security points for when they get off the elevator or the stairs so that they see someone's up here protecting their children, right? It just makes people feel safer. Also, the importance of walkie-talkies. These people have to be involved with the security team, letting them know, hey, there's an issue, so they know what to do and how to react appropriately. All right, so when you're looking at your doors for safety, you look at this. This is a steel door, right? It's pretty solid. It'd be hard to defeat. But then we look, it's got glass. It can be defeated. We always talk about that. But you look at this glass that's got the chicken wire embedded into it. That's going to slow somebody down from breaking it down. So if you have this, you're better off than having just a single plate of glass. So when we teach, I've had the privilege of teaching thousands of people run, hide, fight, or Alice, all right? The easiest thing to do in any incident, there's 3 options you have, and that is you can either run as far as you can, as fast as you can, and get away from danger. You can fight, all right, to prevent you from getting killed or somebody else from getting killed, or you can hide, all right? And hide, when I say hide, it is hide locked down. That means you are behind solid cement walls, you have a steel door, you are locked down, you have everything barricaded in front of that door, and you are safe. Those are the times, those are the 3 tools we have. Running, this is the preferred option. So why do we even tell people it's okay? Because back in the day, we were never told it was okay to run. And if you look at active shooter events prior to 2000, kids weren't told it was okay to run. And some of those videos that you see from previous active shooter events, people did what we were told to do for safety. And when I went to school, we were told, you sit down in the hallway, you cover your head, or you sit under your desk and cover your head and you were safe. Well, that's not necessarily true. If a bad person runs in a building with a gun and everybody runs out, we no longer have an active shooter. We just have a man with a gun in the building, and that is our specialty. We can deal with that all day. Now we have time. All right. We want you to evacuate. This is the preferred method. We want you to run as far as you can, as fast as you can. Go to where the bad people aren't. All right, this eliminates you from being a potential target. Get as far as away as fast as you can and contact law enforcement and let them know you were in there. Where do you need to go? Because eventually we're going to have to talk to you if something happened, and they're going to probably send you towards a reunification site where you would be interviewed by law enforcement. Remember, run, hide, fight is not sequential. So if you're hiding at one point or locked down and it's no longer safe to do so, you might have to run or you might have to fight. So just know this isn't sequential. It can go in any order. Hide. When we're hiding, and we'll do an example of barricading a door, and we'll put this in, but this is when you are in a position where there's no other way to get out. You are in this area, we have to lock down and we have to make sure no one can get in. All right. This is when you don't know where the shooter is. You don't know where the bad person is. You have zero idea. You just know that you heard, hey, there's an active shooter in this place of worship, lock down, lock down, lock down, or run, hide, fight. They're going to give you those directions. All right. Hide under, inside objects, do whatever you got to do, fortified doors, and we will give examples of those and demonstrate those. All right, be ready to run if the situation changes. You might be locked down and the bad person might get in and you might have to go to another plan. You might have to go to run, or you might even have to go to fight. All right, remember, when you are there, you are locked down, you are hiding until law enforcement gives you the all clear and it's okay to come out. All right, so we talk about locking down, and you want to know your building and know where you're at. One, you look at the structure of this building. It's built pretty secure, right? This is cinder block, pretty safe behind that. But can you effectively lock down behind this door? You look at it, good solid door, would probably prevent someone from getting in. But you have a weak spot, right? You have the side window. This prevents you from locking down in this room. Now, could you barricade in place? Yes. You can absolutely throw doors or tables against it, lock your door so no one can come in, but eventually this glass will be defeated. So at that point, you have to have a second plan. What are you going to do if they start to get in? Now we're going to talk, we talked about locking down, and then when you lock down or hide, we want you to barricade the door, right, as much as you can. So we look at this structure here. It is a solid brick wall, super safe behind that. Solid steel door. This is the safe area to lock down in or hide in, right? But we also see that there's no lock on the inside. We don't know if the door locks. So if I was gonna lock down in this room, I have this little wedge here. I would wedge that under the door as far as I could, all right, to prevent the door from opening. I would then take anything I could, wrap around this to prevent anything from opening this angle bracket here. And I want to wrap it tight. Is that going to stop them? You never know, right? This could break. It could be something that doesn't work, whatever. But this does buy you time. I would then take this heavy cabinet and I would tip it over and put it in front. All right. That is a way you can lock down. Then I would move everything I could in front of this to prevent them from getting in. Now just remember, when you do that in this room with no windows, there's no way for you to get out either. So have a plan on what you're going to do next. All right, you're always looking at what can I do next to win the day. All right, so that was the door that opened in, okay? This door opens in also, but I'm on the other side now. So if this is the doorway you're working with, I now have a table placed in front of it, right? I could wrap this around the table and wrap it around the handle and hold it tight. Now he's effectively got to pull this entire table through this steel door frame. Not possible. Something to think about, all right? If you can't run and you can't hide and your only option is to fight, then we want you to fight, all right? And I always tell people I'm going to give you the rules to win every single fight you'll ever be in. Eyes, throat, growing. If you take a person's ability to see away, you're going to win that fight. If you punch them in the throat and they can't breathe anymore, you're going to win that fight. If you kick them in the groin and they can't move and you run, now you've effectively won that fight. All right, those are the keys. There's no fairness in a fight for your life. You have the right to defend yourself or defend someone else. All right. We want you to use force when the threat is imminent. Like you are right there, you are running, and you come around the corner and the bad guy's right there. Then you do what you have to do to win the day and go home at night. All right? Fighting is a personal decision. All right? You might not know how you're going to react. No one knows how they're going to react until they actually encounter that threat or that stimulus. So just know, you might think you're going to fight, but as soon as you see that threat, you might just take off running. All right? You might even freeze and somebody might have to grab you and get you out of there. So just know it's something that you say you might do, but it might change when that threat's there. All right? So have a plan.